You know you ain't.
You wanna get up there?
You know you can't. You know you ain't. You know you can't.
Hello to the world, and welcome to episode 4 of the Moontalkers podcast. I didn't do fingers that time because I went, if I do fingers every time, eventually I'm going to run out of fingers. When I get to episode 11, it's over. Well,
Grow
go on,
more
Hannah.
fingers.
Grow more fingers. I tried, but it didn't work properly. Yeah. Hannah, how are thee on this day? On this day of dayage?
Hannah's tired. My friend punished me and sent me to the gym for 3 hours. 3 hours?
Oh. So what, before this 3 hours, you went, what could we possibly do for 3 hours? What did you end up doing for 3 hours?
He did a bunch of weight training and he did some cardio, but it was mainly just weight stuff. But I feel like most of the reason it was 3 hours was because he would pause in between sets.
Well, how long was you pausing for? 10 minutes?
Well, yeah, it basically was. And he was trying
wow.
to tell me stuff to do. And it's just this is the longest time I've ever spent in a gym in my life. And I hate it. I hate it.
Believe in the gym. But you have to be optimized. Yeah, you can't go gym for 3 hours and then be like, I was there for 3 hours, but I really could have done that in an hour and a half. You know? Optimized. Right.
That was definitely hour
let's get
and a half
into
work.
Right, let's get into the news, of which there is none, because
Well,
there's
there's
one.
something.
There's something. What
There
about
might be
someone else
two
gonna play the news
somethings.
thing? There might be two. Oh well, you could bring up the second something. It's news.
In the news today.
Everybody wants to. Everybody wants to. Everybody wants to. Everybody wants to. Everybody wants to read all about it.
Right. So in the first bit of news, this was actually meant to be in last week's one. I think I said it at the end. I was like, oh, there was two things, and then I said I forgot one of them already. And then as soon as we stopped recording, I remembered what it was. So we got announcements last week that, well, in Germany, everything's in Germany, isn't it? They're doing the re-release of Moonwalker, and this is it on Blu-ray. So, right, well, one thing I've seen about the German release or European release, I haven't seen about it elsewhere, but this is it is most likely going to be just this is it, exactly what we already got the other times. Don't get excited, yeah, like when it was the 10th anniversary, and I thought, oh, maybe they might put some performances we didn't see in there, like Dangerous or something. No, didn't get that. We got, what did we get? Holographic sticker or something, I don't know. Rubbish, yeah. Can you believe from the end of when this is it actually came out, yeah, when so much stuff was missing that I thought was going to be in there, I literally thought they're holding on to it for like a 5-year anniversary or 10-year, or it'll come out. First I said it'll come out on the Blu. When it releases, they'll drop the extra stuff. That's when it will come. Or it'll be on like some extra Blu-ray. Nope, that didn't happen. Then I thought, oh, maybe 5-year anniversary. Nope. 10-year anniversary. Nope. Now we're getting it now, but it's going to be just a re-release. As far as what I can tell from the press release. Also, Moonwalker will be getting a Blu-ray release. Now, I don't know how different this will be from the last Blu-ray release. I know they did. Well, I'm saying that. I'm actually chatting rubbish. I don't know if they rescanned it for that last one, but I'm pretty sure that they did. However, it was censored. So that little bit at the end with Joe Pesci, and he's all got the needle and the girl and he's slapping her up, that was censored on that Blu-ray release. But in the press release, it says it will be uncensored. So Moonwalker will actually be having changes. What other changes or additions it has, it didn't say anything extra, even though we know there's making of footage. You know, it's literally in the film. Do you know what I'm saying? In the end credits. So the fact that we haven't got a making of as a Blu-ray extra is a crime. What do you think, Hannah?
Wasn't Pez Jax making a documentary about Moonwalker?
Was he?
Yeah, I mean, I think he had showed it at Kingvention or something. I'm not sure like what's going on with it. Maybe he's trying to get like it to go on streaming or something, but he was making a documentary last time I checked. Maybe a book. I don't know. As far as like this is it, I just feel like that's kind of tricky to like give us additional information, additional like footage, just because of like everything that went on with that and lawsuits that happened as a result of that. It's like maybe they're barred from releasing anything else as far as that and giving us like that bonus stuff. Plus, we also don't know how good it is. Yeah.
Yeah, that as well. I reckon it's all rubbish anyway. But it's in terms of MJ performing or whatever. But I still want to see extra shit. I want to see. I'll say this. I'm conflicted because I don't really like This Is It or whatever. But I want to see it because I want to see if there's like extra stuff of him actually going, oh yeah, we should do this and we should do that. But at the same time, I already got the feeling like anything he said during that period, it didn't matter if he was saying it because the people around had already said and made the decisions for him. Do you know what I'm saying?
I mean, he did have some decisions, but I mean, none where it really counted, I feel.
Exactly. But almost his things would be almost superficial. Yeah. So they know we're doing this song, we're doing it this, da, 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 and then it might be a case where they're playing it a certain way and he goes, no, that's not it because my ear, I can hear it's not that or whatever. But any of the decisions that were like actual decisions, I don't think he had nothing to do with that. It was more like, when they would bring him stuff that they've already picked. They're going, right, here's the 10 options we got. These 3 options will show to Michael and he'll pick one of those and one of those will be fine. We don't care about the other options. Yeah. Insert every single costume from This Is It. Disgraceful.
Well, and that's all I have to say about that.
We know about putting 1 billion Swarovski crystals. Bruv, if you want to play a drinking game, yeah, take a shot every time you hear Swarovski crystals when you're watching This Is It. That's a drinking game right there.
Weren't most of those like the Zaldi outfits? Well, not.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
I don't
every
think
time he
MJ
spoke
liked them
about
either.
No, I don't think he did either. Yeah, no. This is what I'm saying. They done all of that stuff, and it was like they just done it on the side, and then they came to him and went, "Yeah, this is what it is," and you just had to go, "All right." In fact, we'll get onto the horribleness of those costumes anyway. Right. I don't even know if there's actually any other news because
I have
initially,
a thing.
Oh, Hannah's got a thing. Because
The files. Guess who's in the Epstein files? Your boy, Tommy Mottola, Thomas Motorola, Thomas the Tank Engine.
choo choo, blood, choo choo.
He's in the files.
Yeah. What was his linkage in the file? In the files, was he a name that popped up many a time, or was he just in passing, or was he on the island?
Well, let me actually read it to have it right. So basically, he appears in the files like 600 times, 681 times, in hundreds of emails connected to Jeffrey, Mr. Epstein, and his circle. And among those emails, there's exchanges about... Wow, that's crazy. Sorry, I was like, I'm reading this in real time, but there's stuff about, essay, human trafficking, covering up powerful figures, and he was the lead attorney for several victims of Jeffrey Epstein. Well, not Tommy Mottola, but a attorney that Tommy knew named Bradley Edwards. So there's all that. And it's like Michael was out here saying that man was a devil, saying that Mariah Carey was crying on the phone to him, saying that man is, everything but a son of God. And everyone just made it seem like, oh, Michael's being dramatic. Look at Michael. He's on a smear campaign. And to some degree he was. I love the Great Invincible Tour 2001. But, 2002 technically. But I'm just saying, MJ wasn't wrong. The demise of all of MJ's enemies is happening in real time. And, people wanted to hate our man so bad.
Yeah. I remember even when he came out and done the Tommy Mottola's, he's a racist, and he's very,
very, very devilish.
devilish. Yeah. Bruv, when, who was it? Was it Jesse Jackson afterwards that came out? Was like,
Yeah.
I didn't know he was going to do that. Oh, me and Tommy Mottola, yeah, we're totally cool, bro. This guy is a disgrace, fam. Because he always does this. Because when, in the Victory Tour, when he was all, we're with the Jacksons. And then as soon as the whole ticket scandal started happening, he was going, them Jacksons, they're from the hood, bro. They should know, they should understand. They shouldn't be charging these tickets. This guy just flip-flops for whatever
They have a word for
works.
people like him.
Yeah, flip-flop.
A turncoat.
Okay, yeah, turncoat. In America, bro, that guy's a flip-flop, fam. Flip-flop settings, bro. Flip-flop.
And they have an even meaner word for people like him, but people already think I'm a hater in the comments, so maybe I should just say it. I really want to lean into that role. People call people like that coons.
It's true.
It's
true.
Last week people thought I was a hater for my opinions on the MJ biopic, and well, I'm entitled to my wrong opinion and my right opinions.
But you say you're entitled to your wrong opinion. It's not a wrong opinion.
To other
it's just
people.
An opinion.
It's wrong to someone else. But I'm entitled to that. Just like people are entitled to their wrong opinions. So, and what fun is it if I just agree with everything Josh says,
Boring.
We go, it's yin and yang here.
Yin and yang. Yeah. I say this. I was there was something I thought of when I was editing the episode, which took forever. Oh yeah, sorry about that when it came out with no sound. I was having the technicals of all technicals last week, from the recording to the editing to the upload. Everything went wrong last week. But whatever, it's next week now, even though technically it isn't because it's Sunday. But well, I guess that's it on the news. There's no other news because I haven't even looked and I haven't even checked. And those were the two news stories. The end. Right. This week on the podcast, today, we're going to be talking about This Is It. More specifically, The Dark Side, Part 1. Yeah. Continuing on from Hannah's docuseries, looking at the dark side of Michael Jackson's This Is It. We're going to be taking a few of the podcast episodes to just go over each episode of the series and just discuss, because it's a long 3 hour. It's like 3 hours per episode. Yeah. There's so much to discuss. And I was like, Hannah, I bet there's even things that you want to speak about that you can't even speak about it because you've already put the thing out. So how do you discuss it? This is the time. You can discuss it now. And then we could just break it up and go bit by bit, because there's so much stuff. We can't fit it all into one podcast episode. So today we're going to start with part 1. Hannah, let them know about the series and what happens in part 1.
So, The Dark Side of Michael Jackson's This Is It pretty much just tells the story of everything Michael was going through in those final 6 months leading up to his death to prepare to embark on this big London tour. So in part 1, we pretty much just set the stage and we talk about Michael's reputation, his finances, what he went through pretty much on every tour and like one-off show that he did. And we also talk about his management at the time, which was kind of a lot. There were a lot of different people representing him or not representing having a stroke. Okay. If there were a lot of different people representing and or not representing him during that time. So I think Randy Phillips had once said with Michael Jackson's like managers, you needed a scorecard, and he low-key kind of cooked, but I don't like that man. So that's pretty much part 1, everything that's setting up to lead to the subsequent parts of the series.
Right. So in part 1, because I was like, right, let me have a little refresh. I'm going to watch it again so I can be in my brain. Yeah. So obviously in the beginning, you kind of start with, this is kind of what happened in the Invincible era, the Martin Bashir documentary, leading into all of that and leading into what would eventually be This Is It. What did you find was like the main reason for him basically doing This Is It?
Money, essentially. I mean, as much as I hate to say it like that, but it's true. We all know Michael Jackson didn't like to tour, and touring, I guess, was the fastest way that he thought that he could make money, when technically it seemed like everyone on the tour was making money but him, or all of the money that he would subsequently be making would have to be paid back to the touring company AEG, since he got a lot of different kinds of advances as part of signing his contract.
Yeah, I think it's a bit crazy because it seems to be well documented that his finances from more or less the early 90s had already started to change in how it was working. I remember one time I watched a show, which I don't know how 100% accurate it was. I didn't fact check, and it was like 20 years ago or whatever. But it was called Michael Jackson's Millions, and it basically showed what he had earned on certain, like, from a tour, from videos, from whatever promo, from signing whatever contracts at Sony, and then basically like how much he was spending. And I was like, bruv, if you're giving away all your money from every tour, where are you getting money from? Hello?
Yeah, and it's just like, I know that a lot of people don't really like to believe that Michael Jackson was broke when he passed away, but he kind of was. I mean, I'd say that he was very asset rich, but he was like money poor. Like, he obviously would have money stored around, because I think in the Bodyguard's book, Remember the Time, protecting Michael Jackson in his final days by like Bill Whitfield and Javon Beard, for those who want the book. But he talked about times where like MJ would just hand him like $20,000 or whatever, or he had like a suitcase full of money and he would just go hand it out to like the homeless or whatever. So it's like, yeah, he had money that he stored around though, but I also feel like that's a black king right there, because that's a black ting. You always got to have a little place where you got some cash.
Yeah,
But
that is the under the mattress money. Yeah, just like no one knows about that, but it's there.
but on the
I've got
flip side of
mattresses
that, it's like,
everywhere.
precisely, he did. But on the flip side of that, it's like there were employees that weren't being paid, employees suing him as a result of not being paid, MJ bowing out on a bunch of different deals, then getting sued. It's like lawsuits cost a lot to go through. And, MJ was someone who also wouldn't fight against these lawsuits. He'd kind of just want to pay him off and let him go after the ordeal he had suffered with, the 05 trial and everything. So it's like that costs money. Then, we all know MJ loved to shop. Just look at the Martin Bashir documentary where he's just like, I want that one. I want these. It's like, I did hear somewhere that
that
he
was
returned
staged.
all that. Yeah, I did hear
heard,
somewhere that he returned all
heard.
that stuff. But he's still out there reporting like, I want these, I want that one, I want this. It's like goals, honestly. But Michael, chill out, my boy. there was also like, the time period where he couldn't do music or he wasn't actively working on a lot of music. And like, with the '05 trial coming, it's like he wasn't working on albums. He was probably too stressed out and too exhausted to work on albums and different things during that time. A lot of projects also got shelved during that time. Even the '93 allegations affected his finances. And we all know Michael Jackson was one of those people. As Miss Ariana Grande says it in her song Seven Rings, ain't no budget when I'm on the set. If I like it, then that's what I get. So Michael would also pour a lot of money into his projects. You had mentioned he would give a lot of money like away on tours. It's like all the bad tour proceeds or whatever. He embarked on the Dangerous tour because he wanted to do it for his charity, the Heal the World Foundation. It's like, this is part of the reason why this man wasn't keeping money,
Because he was giving it all away.
So
Yeah.
precisely.
You change that giving tree into a money tree. Yeah. And then you can give from that money tree into your giving tree. Yeah. Yeah. It was just too much giving tree. Because the way I thought of it, yeah, I always went right. Because I love to tour. I remember after the Triumph tour, he said that was going to be the last tour. Then they done Victory, which obviously he didn't even want to do or whatever. Gave all that money to charity. Bad. Again. Dangerous. Went to charity again. History. I'm sure that Michael Jackson's Millions is aware. It said that he done the same thing. He gave bare proceeds to charity again. So that's 4 world's tours. And all the money's gone to charity, basically. And then even when he died, he gave half the money to charity.
I think
Do you know
there's
what I'm saying?
somewhere in his will that he gives 20% of his proceeds to different charities. So it's like, I
This is what I'm
love
saying.
that he's so charitable, but at the same time, you got to make sure, your life vest is secure before, you help others. So I don't know. I
Yeah, I
also
think-
feel like that kind of goes into, I'm sorry, I keep talking over you.
No. It's that, go on.
But I also feel like this goes into Michael Jackson having more of an abundance mindset, believing in manifestation and all that. I feel like he always thought he would have money and it would always keep coming in. And I mean, technically it did, but, not enough to kind of sustain the lifestyle he had.
Yeah, because I think he had that on Michael Jackson. I'll just make it happen. Yeah, like that meme. And I said, bitch, I'm Michael Jackson. Like, what? I can get money. Yeah, I can go to the mattresses. I've got bare mattresses everywhere. Yeah. But like you said, more was going out than it was coming in. So I think it was just a case of by the time he'd got to a certain place, he knew that he could get by. Yeah, he knew I could speak to these guys and get a little bit of money. I could speak to these guys, or I can make this deal, or I can get this loan or whatever, and I'll be good up until a certain point, which I guess leads up to This Is It, where it's like, right, there's only so far I can get by doing this. Gonna have to actually do some work in there. I love to tour. Let's go. In saying that, it's not even a tour. It was a residency. It was a residency. Yeah. A tour implies
But
that
it was
going
going to be expanded into that later on, allegedly, supposedly. AEG had a lot of different plans to take it around the world and, eventually him come to the United States. So it's like they pretty much, like I say in my video, like they hit him with that, your butt is mine. And he pretty much was locked into AEG for a while. This tour or residency, it would have went on for a while, like a couple years. And that's why I think at least Jermaine in his book said that MJ wanted to retire and stuff after this. And obviously MJ would probably want to retire after that, but they were going to work him. They were definitely going to work him. And even with like the number of shows per week, it's like that was set to increase. Everything was set to go up. It's like this was just the starting point, I feel. And he couldn't even handle the starting point just because of how much he would put into his work and everything. So, yeah.
Yeah. At what point? Because obviously we heard that initially it was the first 10 shows, which then turned into 50 shows. At what point was it that actually happened?
So, okay, like the gag is it was never going to be 10 shows, realistically. 10 shows were going to go on sale, but in Michael's AEG contract, it says that the exact wording is he was pre-approved up to 31 shows. So 31 was the number because MJ wanted to do 10 more than Prince had done at the O2 Arena in 2007. Because Prince still has to this day, I believe, the longest running number of shows in one city before, like at one place. And it's like the most sold out tour at the O2 Arena, I believe. So it started at that 31. AEG wanted to put 10 on sale to kind of just see, like, how are these 10 going to do? Are people still interested in Michael Jackson? Because it's like, again, the trial, everything, him being gone from the United States for those couple years. They wanted to see how these shows would do. And then they'd have to put out more, like for like the, pre-sale and the public on sale. So once those tickets went out for like the public on sale, that would be all 31. That's when like they would try to increase it after that. But the increase didn't happen. Like the tickets went on, like MJ had said that he woke up one day and it was 50 shows. It really wasn't like that quick. It happened over maybe the course of a couple weeks to a month, and then the shows increased to 50. And there's also evidence that MJ agreed for it to go to 50 shows because it's like just the things of him saying, okay, well, if I'm going to do 50 shows, I want, a residence in London. I want, horses and stuff. I want someone to be there to help me with my book. Now, these are things that Randy Phillips had said, and he's not the most reliable figure, but it's still very believable that MJ would try to be like, well, I want this, this, and this because he's Michael. Bitch, he's Michael Jackson. Like,
bitch.
Might as well.
Bitch, Michael Jackson.
Precisely.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Because obviously, when you're doing a deal and stuff like that, regardless of what might happen contractually, when you're agreeing to something within reason, do you know what I'm saying? It's gonna be like you say. We want this many shows, and he's saying, well, if we're doing that much time, I'm gonna need X, Y, and Z. So yeah, I do see that. But at the same time, sometimes I feel like he's half not paying attention. He's just like, that too. I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'll do it. Yeah, because I just need to get it done in it. So whatever it is, just make sure I got the horses in that in it. just make sure I got the horses.
I think it's also because like his manager during that time was like Dr. Tomei, and most of the time Dr. Tomei, AEG would talk to Dr. Tomei, and then Tomei would tell it to Michael. So it was like there was this big chain of command, I guess, to get to Michael. And I don't think, Michael might have just been like, okay, whatever, do what you want to do, or I trust you to run my stuff. And it's like, whatever. So he probably wasn't aware of a lot of different things during This Is It, just because of the people around him.
Speaking of which, since we were talking about Tomei, let's talk about his manager situation in this period. So there was a lot of people. There's people claiming to be managers. There was people that were managers that weren't managers. There were managers. There were old managers coming back. There was a whole influx of people going in and out. Yeah, we've got the likes of Branca going out and returning. We've got the likes of Frank Dilio returning. We've got Tomei. I think at the end of that little Martin Bashir era, we had Raymond Bain in there. So what was happening with all these managers?
Do not even know. So it's like during the trial era, I think it kind of was Raymond Bain for a while, or at least that was like his publicist, I believe. And then after that, then allegedly, based on like things I've read and things I've heard, like Grace Rwamba was his kid's nanny was like running stuff. And I'm like, okay. And then somewhere along the line, Tomei comes in because of Jermaine had kind of recommended him. So y'all want to hate on my man. You can hate on my man for this. My fake man. As a fake Jermaine Jackson stan. I have to... My germs, are you watching? Where are you at? Ew. But Tomei comes along, he kind of cleans up everything, and then they start like that's when AEG and like all these other deals came in. There were a lot of different things that were kind of trying to be in the works prior to This Is It. There were a lot of things I guess Tomei was working on, which is why he sued the Michael Jackson estate, after Michael Jackson died, but that's beside the point. So basically, Tomei was the manager at the start of This Is It, and I'm saying like at least January 2009. By about March, things were getting like, because of the Julian's auction that happened, which I have mentioned a bunch of times. But basically, it's just like MJ agreed to have his things shown in a Julian's auction, but Tomei was like, no, they're going to show them and they're going to sell them. And MJ was like, no, they're not going to sell my things. Then he put a halt on the sale. Julian's auctions ended up suing him. And Michael was just mad as hell over that and was like, Tomei, yeah, you got to get to step in. So after that, that's when Frank DeLeo comes in. But Frank DeLeo also kind of was in the cut in like late 2008 because he had made this deal with this guy named Patrick Alaco for like a Jackson's Variety show in like July 2010. And Frank DeLeo basically signed this retainer agreement saying, yeah, like MJ's going to do the show, whatever, whatever. But the gag is that Michael couldn't do any other shows while he was contracted with AEG. And that's why Patrick Alaco ended up suing him. But Frank says he wasn't involved in that or whatever, but like he clearly signed it acting as Michael Jackson's manager when he did not really become Michael's manager until sometime in like April/May. So then we have Frank DeLeo.
So with
Apparently,
Frank, with
yeah.
Frank, was it a case of someone else has brought him in because they went, right, Frank will be able to sort out Michael, let's bring him in?
I think it's a combination of that, but it's also Frank had said, I think in a Raffles interview that he did, that him and Michael were originally just talking about like doing film together because apparently Frank had a buddy that like, wanted to invest money in films. So they started talking like in regards to that. And then, somewhere in that mix, you sneak in Leonard Rowe and Joe Jackson and like that whole thing. So pretty much like with Leonard Rowe and Joe Jackson, they had an agreement where Leonard Rowe would kind of be like the manager or whatever. And obviously Michael wasn't going for that shit because he didn't want Joe Jackson involved in it. But Frank had said that, MJ ended up signing the agreement because like, as Joe Jackson, he's a little scared. He's a little timid, he doesn't want to disappoint him. So he wrote on the contract that Leonard Rowe could be his financial overseer only. So then once Frank DeLeo kind of becomes the manager, Michael's like, I don't like that he's involved in this and I want him out and blah, blah, blah. So that's when Frank kind of becomes the full-time manager because he's handling this thing for Michael to get rid of Joe and Roe. And I think he had met on a conference call with Randy, like Randy, Michael, and Frank had met on a conference call. Randy liked the way that Frank, had kind of, I guess, like how Michael and Frank were together. It just seemed like Frank kind of understood Michael and all that, and Randy did like that, which comes with the incentive of, well, he can get Michael together. He can keep him straight. But then I also feel like there was a very small fraction of Michael that wanted to be like, well, I'll have you as my manager. But I also feel like Michael wanted managers kind of for different things instead of like one central manager. Because I think somewhere Michael had okayed Frank to be his manager, but he could only manage or like do certain things at Michael's request. And then that's when AEG was kind of mad at him. Well, like, how are we to know? Like when the request is, how are we supposed to know like when you want him to do stuff? So it's like Frank was the manager, I guess, by the time Michael passed. I think there was something signed, whether it was like a letter, because Frank did get an advance, I'm sure, but that was pretty much it as far as like all that. And then somewhere in the fold, John Branca sneaks back in. But I don't know too much about that yet because I haven't gotten to that part in my series yet. I try to like just read everything like as I'm like doing it so that I don't overwhelm myself with stuff. Plus it's timeline specific. And technically, ironically, that thing with John Branca coming back doesn't happen before 2 weeks before he died, which is really like conspiracy when you think about it.
Yeah. What about them conspiracies? Right. So, that's the manager situation, which already there's so much going on. Like the mystery that is Tomei. Like, why have you got two first names or two last names? What even is a Tomei? Yeah. It's like you're trying to be Mario, but you can't be Mario. You're going to be Tomei. And I don't know. It sounds rubbish. Tomei.
Someone said that Randy Phillips' sister was married to like someone in his family or something. So I don't know. There might be ties there. but
Shit,
I
there's
haven't
more
really.
connections.
Oh, there's a lot of connections with
Get the
all of
safety
it.
pin and the drawstrings out. Conspiracy.
Is
Conspiracy.
is that what people do for conspiracies?
Yeah. You get the string and the pictures.
Oh, you
Conspiracy.
said safety pins. Don't you mean like those pin thingies?
Yeah, safety pins. Ain't that
That's
a
what they're
safety pin?
called?
Drawing
That's not
pin.
a safety pin.
No, that's a
That's just
drawing
like
pin.
a pin. Like
No,
safety
drawing
pins
pin.
are like
No,
those
safety.
silver things. Okay, I feel like this is like a
Yeah, no,
United States
yes,
versus
safety pin.
UK difference.
No, it's not. Safety pin is that one that like
Wait a
clips,
second. You're
like a paper clip.
yeah, the one that clips like a paperclip. Yeah. I'm
Yeah,
talking about like
yeah.
a pin.
Yeah, thumbtack.
Like
Thumbtack.
yeah, this is a thumbtack? Like this thing?
Yeah.
But
Why do you think
these
it?
tags?
Why do you think it's fake? I mean, technically,
These
yeah,
are tags.
those are fun tacks. The other ones, I would call them pins or pins or whatever.
You said that's for safety pins. I thought you were
they
saying
didn't need
those were
safety. No, but that's what I meant. The pins in it with the, because that's why they got that long green handle bit, so you can wrap the string around it and go to your next conspiracy theory. Yeah.
the episode where Josh and Hannah argued over safety pins for like 2 minutes.
The record company usually like for you to support your album and go on tour, and I don't like to.
Well, can we just do it again without the negative saying that you don't like the tour? Just 'cause
I don't like it
I
though.
know, but see, this
I go through
what is
hell.
standing up, though? I don't know.
I go through hell touring. Okay, then I'll make it positive then.
Yeah, it's just
Well, you know the truth.
yeah.
Okay.
And action, Michael.
I love to tour. That's just you guys must shut up.
All right, let's talk about Corey Rooney quickly. Hannah, can you tell the people who are you, Corey, and why are you involved?
Well, he wasn't really involved in This Is It, really. I mean, he was a music producer at Sony that MJ had kind of met when he was like recording the Invincible album, and they kind of became like really good friends. But he's important just because like he was very vocal about how MJ just didn't like to tour, the different kind of pain that he would go through and experience. And, you know, a lot of people kind of would think like, oh, this is a Sony executive. Why would MJ be cool with someone like that at Sony? But like it is like they really had a great friendship. And I think Corey Rooney was friends with him up until he passed.
I think is because there's obviously so many people around him, and obviously by the time he had got to around those times, he was feeling like he couldn't really trust anyone. I mean, he said it himself in that little Brett Ratner excerpt of himself. Maybe I'll stick it in right here. Don't trust it. Don't trust everybody. Like basically.
Mhm.
But I feel like across the different relationships he had with certain people, it seems like there were enemies, there were friends, like there were certain people that were somewhere in the middle, or they'd done a little betrayal 5 somewhere along the line. So say for example, at his beginning time at Sony, you would have people that you'd go, right, these guys are definitely in his corner. The Walter Yetnikovs, Frank Dilio, obviously even Branca or whatever. And then you're moving into the 90s, and then Dilio's been moved out, and then eventually like Branca gets moved out for his dodgy dealings. What's the name of the president of Sony? The Japanese one. Yamada.
Oh,
I forget his full name. But even with him, it's like at that moment in time when you're the biggest artist in the world or whatever, and you speak to the president of Sony Music, when you look at what their relationship could have been like, just from little outside details and stuff like that, you go, oh, whatever their working relationship was, it seemed like it worked. And then after he's gone out, and now it's Tommy Mottola's running things and you just see a shift with certain people that he was working with at those times. Do you see what I'm saying? So like in the 90s or at the peak time, early 90s or whatever, it seemed like everything was kind of going his way. And then whether you want to call it coincidence or whatever, after the first allegations, that's like you're seeing the dropping of sponsorships, the dropping of things. So all these people in the background in Sony, when things are seemingly not going their way, because hey, if he's not getting X, Y, Z for this, then that means we're not getting money for that, and then we're going to be investing, say for example in Invincible, we're putting in money, but no one's actually paying for all of this stuff. So obviously with everything being more business minded, you start to see the shift in the relationships that he was having. If you would have asked him about Tommy Mottola in 1993, I bet you his words wouldn't have been the same as whatever he said in 2001 or 2002. Do you know what I'm saying?
Tommy had claimed him and MJ had a conversation and made up, but you see MJ didn't put out any other albums after Invincible, except for like little compilation albums. So, who really knows if they did?
Yeah. Another thing I wanted to ask you, well, we'll see how it relates and stuff like that. But in terms of Sony Music's relationship with, this is it in general, like I know you said about Branca coming back in like 2 weeks before he died and that, but obviously he was let go with the dealings that he was doing with Michael and Sony at the same time, being a double agent or whatever. So he's been let go, but he still works for Sony. Michael's still signed to Sony, and this is it's coming out. Sony will be sitting there going, well, we're gonna make money off of this somehow, whether it's whatever it is. I mean, before he died, they would have said, I don't know, we're putting out a live album or we're putting out something. They would have found a way to get some kind of compensation from doing nothing. Yeah. So really, what is Sony's part? Because everyone thinks conspiracy, they killed him or whatever. What is Sony's part playing into the lead up to This Is It?
Geez, Scoob. Other than all the Invincible stuff, I mean, what is their part? I don't feel like Sony really has a lot to do with it. But there is the aspect of like in Michael's agreement, obviously he was doing stuff with Prince Abdullah, that guy in Bahrain. And I remember MJ couldn't sign his contract with AEG because pretty much Prince Abdullah, like him and MJ had a contract together, and MJ had lost his touring rights and his performance rights. So
How does
he
one lose
couldn't.
their touring rights?
Well, he had signed over all of that. So basically, anything that he would have done, I feel like it probably would have had to have been under Prince Abdullah and not AEG. So then MJ had to there was a lawsuit there, but MJ ended up buying his way out of that contract with part of his advance. So it's like maybe, potentially in MJ's Sony contract, there's like a place in it where Sony could get a piece of MJ's performance rights for the rights for him to perform his own songs, like if they had owned his catalog or something like that, or even just like any other artist. I'm not really entirely sure like how that kind of stuff works, but that probably could have been it. And then also, like you said, there could have been like a live album. I mean, they were definitely planning all that stuff. AEG was like live albums, behind the scenes, performances at the Grammys, like a bunch of different stuff. So I think Sony probably definitely would have gotten their piece of the pie. But I think it's kind of weird because I feel like in some ways they'd have an easier time working Michael if he was alive. But another aspect of it is, well, now he's dead, so he can't argue with us. He can't, we can just say we want this, and whoever's running the estate would say, yeah, and that would be John Branca. And well, he was given the task of trying to get Michael out of all that debt, at least at the very beginning. And well, he was successful, since Michael Jackson, I believe, has the most he's the most richest like dead celebrity, I think, and has been for like multiple years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he did his job. Sony's still making that money. Sony still snatched up that catalog. So maybe it
Yeah.
could have been that John Branco was that missing piece and him coming in kind of made it easier for Sony to get the things they wanted. But to be 100% real, I'm not trying to really focus on that aspect of things in my series. I know people have kind of wanted me to talk about it and they kind of talk about how like Sony killed Michael Jackson, but it's like, well, I'm kind of just like trying to stay on is just the things that I can prove with like
Yeah.
actual evidence. Cause you know, like this is a conspiracy. I can't really prove that. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because well, my thing was without doing a full blown research documente. After Invincible, because I basically just always tied it into there was some kind of connection here. I was like, right, is Michael trying to get out of the contract? Because when he done that birthday appearance in London, he was like, I only have to give them 2 albums. I'm just going to give them some old songs or whatever. And I think we ended up getting like the Ultimate Collection and number ones. So I was like, well, does that mean the contract's up? Does that mean he's done and he's a free agent? But he wasn't, because he still stayed on Sony for X amount of time. And I always went, right, is this a contractual, and also if you know this in the comments, feel free to leave it in, or sources, yeah, that by the time he was done with Invincible, because they had spent so much money on it, and after that, like, he basically refused to tour afterwards because they didn't want to promote with any music videos or short films. I felt like there was like a rollover that was constantly happening, because I was like, right, we had the Living with Michael Jackson or whatever. Then I remember number ones came out. And I think Neverland got raided like the same week. I'm pretty sure. I remember that happening. So I was like, is this like some kind of conspiracy or whatever? I was like, Branca's been fired just before that. It rolls around, a little bit of time passes, and then, like, say for example, not only do Sony would prefer to have Michael out because they want his half of the catalog, but also they want to recoup on the investments that they had already been doing way back from Invincible, because you're not making back that money from album sales. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, if someone's just spent however much on the most expensive album ever made, and then you're not recouping the whole point when you make an album and then you put out a single and then you make a music video and then you go out to tour, is that eventually it's all building up to make money. And that's not what Invincible done. So I feel like it was almost like, because they were battling from that Invincible time all the way through, it's just like it carried over into This Is It. Because if your record label isn't backing you, who else is going to back you? So I feel like Sony had kind of already helped blacklist him, being like, well, if you're not going to work for us, you ain't working for nowhere. Yeah. And I feel like that kind of snowballed. Like, even if you don't want to do a full conspiracy, oh, they hired this person, where's the thumbtacks? Yeah. If you don't want to do a full conspiracy, I feel like it organically kind of snowballed out of that Invincible thing, just carrying on and carrying on and carrying on and carrying on until we got to This Is It, which was kind of like the resolution to everything that had built up over the last 10 years.
I
That's how I
remember
see it anyway.
reading somewhere, and I don't know how true it is because I haven't found like an exact source for it, but I remember reading somewhere that somebody said that if Michael had lived in 2010, he'd get like his catalog rights back, or like he'd own all of his songs. So that's another conspiracy he tip where it's like, you know, they took him out so MJ couldn't get him back.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah. Oh man. I feel like, you know, sometimes well, you would know because you literally do the research. But sometimes when you just have an idea or something and then you actually go and do the research, I feel like I need to sit down and do like the Branca files, fam. Just, where's my thumbtacks?
See, I had an idea to do a video like that, but it might kill me because of how thorough I try to be with the research. So it might actually kill.
Conspiracies. I'm gonna have to do the Savage podcast. I'll be like, yeah, they killed my girl Hannah, bro. Well, we'll remember her in this new podcast. Play the intro. I don't know what the intro is on the Savage podcast, but
You know those like shitty flute songs?
Oh yeah. What you mean, like the
I
Titanic one?
yeah, they have one. They have one for You Are Not Alone. So if you end up doing a Savage God, it has to be that.
Yeah, I'll use the shitty flute, and then I'll sing ad libs on top of it.
Yeah, that. You do funerals?
I cause them. Yeah. In the evening. Let's talk about the crew quickly. Yeah. Because originally we had the old crew that had toured with him previously, and then at some point, without their knowledge, or Michael's apparently, which kind of goes on to what I was saying about before, when he didn't really have the decisions of what he was saying. Old crew out, new crew in. What happened there?
I'm kind of talking about like Kevin Dorsey
The
and like
band,
Lavelle.
Kevin Dorsey, yeah, and Lavelle, the old tour crew, and then being swapped out for Michael Bearden and co.
At least with like Kevin Dorsey, I know he said that one day he just showed up and Paul Goncalves sent him away. And that's pretty much it. I think that at least like Paul's reasoning probably was just like finances. They were firing everybody and their mamas. They fired Grace, they fired everybody because they were trying to save money on the tour. But it's like this was MJ's band. Like, why? Especially when it's like it came up out the blue. You know, Kevin says that he was very involved in the beginning, you know, trying to put the band together and everything. And one day he's just ousted. And Lavelle, I mean, they chose Travis over him. And it's like, well, why'd they do that? There wasn't really a reason. I don't think either of them were bad employees. Michael obviously loved them. And it just seems like they were just trying to obviously bring more of their people in. Um, and take away any kind of control that Michael Jackson could have had. But that's not to say that Michael didn't like Bearden, but at the same time, it's like Bearden ain't even performing Michael's songs right. Why MJ got to be like, I want it the way I wrote it? Like, he wouldn't have had to do that with Kevin Dorsey. He wouldn't have had to do that with Lavelle or whomever else that he had already worked with previously.
Yeah. I think as well, maybe that AEG thought that with Michael having his own people in there or whatever, not only could only are they trying to take away the control from him, but also they wouldn't have Michael yes people. They would have like fake yes people. Like the way that they speak to him when you watch This Is It, yeah, and the way that bloody Kenny Ortega talks to him like he's some fucking 5-year-old. Just what's that word? It begins with P, but I can't remember what it is. Yeah, it will come to me in 5 minutes when I'm not even talking about this no more. Yeah, but they were little boy in him. Oh, Michael, do you want it? Yes, Michael. Oh, no, Michael. Oh, yeah. I was like, nah, fam, you're taking this guy for a prick, fam. You're talking to him like he's like some little idiot child, not the greatest of all time. And it just felt like that throughout the whole thing, down to when there was like, right, yeah, then you go stand over here, and then you move over there, and then da. And I thought that just made it so much more apparent after basically they had come out and said that everything was the best ever. He was looking in the best shape that he's ever looked. He's and then you're basically babying him around the stage for the whole movie. It's just like, what is even going on here?
I know that they allege so much that Michael Jackson didn't come to rehearsals a lot of the time. So maybe that's why Kenny was kind of like trying to like tell him what to do, just because it's like most of the time Michael would be at home rehearsing with Travis. But also, and I've like actively been in this part of like my series and my research with the rehearsals and everything. Travis at least said in his AEG trial testimony that Michael had only missed maybe 5 rehearsals. And most of the time he wasn't at rehearsals was very early on because he didn't really have to be, because they were trying to hire in everybody at this time, pretty much throughout April and even a little early May, May, whatever. They were trying to hire everybody. So it's like there was no point for MJ to come to rehearsals because they didn't have the band together. They didn't have all the dancers together. It's like, how was he going to practice with everybody? They just love to make it seem like he wasn't coming to rehearsals that often, but it's like he was rehearsing just at his home. And, of course, there were no like newer dance moves for this except for maybe the drill. So it's like he didn't really need to rehearse as much, and people were mad about that. But I kind of feel like Kenny would I feel like that's also part of Michael and Kenny's relationship to some degree. I guess this is me playing devil's advocate. I'm not gonna sit here and be pro Kenny Ortega, but I do have to say that he was someone that did speak up in regards to Michael being ill. He also was someone that would kind of take a little, be a little rude to him at times. But I also feel like that comes with working with people, no matter who you are. And it's just like we also have to kind of think of it from like their point of view, where it's like Kenny, pushed everything aside to be able to come to work with Michael on this, and Michael's just like not showing up when he needs to show up. It's like anyone's going to be mad about that. So it's like they were justified in being mad, but I just don't think that they did any due diligence to find out why Michael was missing rehearsals, why when he would show up to rehearsals, he, didn't really know his dance moves, didn't really know his lefts from his rights, couldn't lift up props, was sitting, in between songs with a blanket and a heater. I don't think people did their due diligence as to why. Even AEG, I feel like they obviously, allegedly, knew way more than they let off. Because of like things of them getting like Dr. Klein's invoices. They saw exactly what he was going there and getting. But I don't think anyone was really privy to the propofol situation, because most of the time, at least like before Murray got contracted, he was buying that with his own money, or like, whatever he was doing. So there wasn't really a record of it. And unless they asked, hey, what are you giving Michael? Which they probably weren't going to do that, because they just wanted to be like, well, as long as he's showing up to rehearsals, as long as he's here, as long as he makes it to like that 13th show, because by that time the insurance policy would have given them, all of their money. Like they would have earned enough money to break even. We don't care what happens. So
Yeah. And as well, I
I don't
think
know.
even because they had Conrad Murray, it's kind of like they kind of covered that by going, yeah, but we got a doctor in it, so we don't need to check anything. He's got a doctor, and if there's anything wrong, the doctor will say it, or the doctor will fix it.
But they hired a cardiologist when Michael had no heart problems. And that is like, there's so many like red flags where I'm just like, well, why would you hire this man? And why didn't anyone question if MJ had heart issues if he wants a cardiologist to be his doctor? Why didn't they, try to get that physical that they wanted so bad to secure this insurance for the
I was
concert
gonna say,
sooner?
yeah,
Like, they didn't do anything to check Dr. Murray. They just were like, Michael was pretty much just like, I want this doctor, blah, 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 here. And it's like, you're not going to run a background check. You're not going to see what's going on first. Like, before you just hire this man, it doesn't matter if Michael wants this doctor. Like, do your due diligence as a company and
as a
look into
company,
this
because
man.
that's part of your thing, as what you're investing in right now. Yeah, relies on, one, the performer, and two, this doctor who's apparently meant to look after him. Not doing your due diligence, you're literally just going, all right, he basically asked for a doctor, so we're getting him it. We don't know why, we don't know what for. Let's just get it, keep him happy, and just make sure he gets to the show.
The whole thing with Murray just really.
Yeah, he's frustrating. The fact I can't even think this guy was in and out of jail before I even knew he remembered he was even in there. I was like he's in, and he's already out, and he's already doing an interview, and he's already got a book or whatever. Absolute
His
disgrace.
interviews
A cheat.
just. There's this one he did with Nancy Grace. I can't. It just makes me so angry. And his entire book makes me angry too. Did I read all of it? No, but I read some chunks of it, and it's like, man, You know, if I was the Jacksons, I would have sued him, but I see why they didn't because it's not even worth their time. It's just such lies.
Yeah. Not worth their time, money, and then plus you'll be giving him even more attention, which is what he wants. Useless. Sometimes I just go, why do I even bother working? I can just be a lion doctor or whatever and get away with it. I can kill someone, go to jail, come back out and get bare money. I'm going to OK Magazine and doing an interview.
Oh, and apparently you can do all that and start a clinic. Because he started a clinic in Trinidad, I believe. Now, he's not doing medicine, obviously, because he can't, but he can give medical advice.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Conrad Murray, another user. Yeah, don't you find hilarious that all these people that need to get a job, yeah, they've always got some kind of financial issues as to why they're around in the first place. Coincidence? I think not.
I hate it here.
Rob, how close are you?
I don't know. Pretty close.
Like this? Or can you see chest?
I can see right about where your Nike is.
What a short back up. Didn't touch this. That's how you back up.
Right, so Hannah, what was some of the difficulties that you had to face when making these? Because as we can see with our eyes, yeah, these are very long videos. Yeah, part 1 is like how long? 3 hours plus.
Mm-hmm.
What were some of the difficulties that you faced when making this?
Well, at least with parts 1 and 2, my computer was awful, so I could only edit about 5 minutes at a time. So you imagine editing a 3-hour documentary 5 minutes at a time. That's why they would take so long as well. And especially with like part 1, I struggled a lot with it. I even remember scrapping it and I was like, I'm just done. I'm not gonna. But then, you know, I went back to it and I was like, okay. And I had to like map it out. I had to map out the entire series. So it's like, you know, I know some people will say, well, you haven't talked about this yet. And I'm like, because I had to map it out. It's timeline specific. We just haven't gotten to this thing yet. But part 1 also kinda came out when I was going through a lot in my personal life as well, because I people kinda don't consider that. You know, I got a 9 to 5. I'll be out here paying these bills in these streets, you know? And then having to come and, you know, do the this is it stuff. Sometimes it's a lot. So, you know, I at least with part 1 and with part 2, I burnt myself out to the point where it was like I didn't wanna do anything anymore. So now I kinda just really emphasize taking my time, and that's kinda why part 2.5 took, like, 8 months, and that's why I'm taking my time with part 3, and, you know, the rest of the series, a lot goes into it, my dudes. A lot, a lot, a lot. I know y'all love to see it. Y'all love for me to put the parts out, but in order to do it properly and to actually, like, tell the story in the way it needs to be told, you know, I gotta take my time.
Take your time with it. Take your time with it. Yeah, things take ages. Even things that aren't as long. This podcast shouldn't take long sometimes, and I'm like, why have I taken 5 hours to do what's basically like one straight thing? Don't worry about the technicalities or whatever. Yeah, shit happens. But I think well, one, I think you've done a bloody good job. Yeah, how about that? The people agree. That's why they're out here going, oh, what
Well, looking like Dave
part
Chappelle.
3? Is it part 3? Can we get the part 3, please?
It'll come out sometime this year, but it's also complicated because this is the biopic year, so it's like I have to plan the release that I'm planning, which will be very extravagant.
There's gonna be
It'll be the best.
fireworks.
It'll be the best release ever.
We're
It'll be
gonna
the greatest. Doing my Donald Trump impression.
Yeah, go on. The best
It'll
ever.
be the greatest, the best ever. It'll be as great as that movie, Melania, my wife's movie. Please go see my wife's movie, Melania. I love you. I love you
It's
so
sold out
much.
everywhere. The best-selling movie of all time. China could never. We went to China. They didn't have any movies there. What? Why are you hating on China for, bro? Disgrace. Cheat. Right, off. the time's flown by. Right, let's wrap up. So, part 1. The before. Right when you finished part 1, because you said you planned it out. You finished part 1 and then you're going into part 2. What did you learn from part 1 that you took into part 2?
Most of the stuff I learned was when I was writing the touring section, and in particular, the Dangerous tour. That he went through so much on that tour. And it's like, wow, this was basically like a prequel to what would happen with This Is It. But the only thing that separates those two is that MJ had people around him that cared during that time. Because I truthfully think that he could have, something could have happened to him during that time. Like we could have lost him earlier, because it's like the way that he was struggling through these shows and on these pain meds and stuff, because he had scalp surgery before the tour. It was crazy. It took a toll on him, a really big toll. And it's like that tour is just like, I just feel like that could have been the outcome of This Is It if he had the right people around him that cared and could have done something. That's not to say that MJ didn't have people around him that cared during This Is It. It's just the right people weren't caring about him. None of the people with power to actually change things and do something. There were people that spoke up. I mean, I know I talk my smack about Karen. She did try to speak up, though, and I'll give her that. Same thing with Kenny. Same thing with like Michael Bush, Dennis Tompkins. Like, people were speaking up. But there were also a number of people who weren't speaking up that had worked with Michael and had the same repertoire that they did, working with him for like 20 years or longer. But on one hand, it's like
who could that be? Who could that be?
Not you trying to be messy. Not you trying to be messy.
Who could that be?
You just want me to be messy so bad. You just want me to be a hater so bad.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cause you so much pain.
Ooh! Clack it. Clack it.
No, fam. Look, yeah. There's something about Travis Payne, since This Is It, that is just, there's something not right there, bro. Like, I know that's how he is, but there's something just not. Bro, we know there's something not right, fam, because we saw it. You was with Randy Phillips and these men going, yeah, he's the best he's ever been, and all that stuff. And I know, when I find out what this NDA is, or what this contract that AEG had, because all the dancers, all the singers, all the thing, no one's come out and said anything other than, oh, he was looking so energetic and the best he ever looked at that time. No one's come out and done an interview, and then you see, I think Micaiah Cox, she done an interview not too long ago, like a month ago or something like that, where she mentions This Is It, but nothing about drama, nothing about Michael not being there. They've all kept it stum, yeah. So I want to know what contracts, what was in their contracts in this never-ending lifetime NDA that nobody has come out and said anything.
Hey, I think Karen might have said on her Twitter that they were, giving out payouts. Like, you can't say what happened, and Karen didn't accept that. So that's why she pops off a lot on Twitter. And like I said, I may not know her, but I do appreciate the TII talk and the realness of the TII talk, where she's not like saying, oh, he was healthy, he was fine. I feel like a lot of fans kind of fall into that, oh, he was healthy during This Is It. And I'm just going to say that anyone that needs propofol to fall asleep at night, that's not healthy.
Bruv, not even, just look at him, bro. What is it?
Yeah.
Look at him. Imagine this, yeah. After MSG 2001, yeah, people were saying, look at him then. They were saying, look at him then. It was like, nah, he doesn't look healthy. He doesn't look. Look at This Is It. He does not look there. Which, do you know what the crazy thing is that before This Is It, and before the whole This Is It thing started, like when he was working with will.i.am and he was doing the things in Ireland and stuff like that, he actually looked healthy and happy. He looked like, I'm ready to come back. I'm ready to start doing this. And then by the time he's in This Is It, he's completely finished. Completely finished. I'm like, when did this switch around happen? Because when you look at any of that, if you look at the stuff with him and will.i.am in the studio, fam, and he's smiling and I'm like, this looks like happy Michael. This looks like it's taken 5 years or whatever, but he's gotten over all this trial stuff and he's ready to move forward. And then 1 year later, he's finished.
I'd say it's when he had to come back to California. When he moved out of Vegas is when it started. And it didn't really start to get worse until until MJ had to step foot on stage, honestly. Like when Murray started coming in and like all of that. I'd say like most of April, he was relatively okay, but starting to kind of like, oh, I'm having trouble sleeping. And then by the time we get to May, Murray's contracted, and that's when everything just goes like, psh.
Yeah. Crazy. Well, that's the end of today's Podgy Modgy. Guys, let us know what you think about our discussion on the dark side of Michael Jackson's This Is It. And if you haven't, like I've already said many a time, the link will be in the description. Go and check out the video. Yeah. You don't even have to watch it all at once. You can watch it like several times, or you could fall asleep to it and then go, oh, I fell asleep to it.
Yeah, put it on in the background.
Yeah, and then rewind when you miss something. Do you know what I'm saying? I've done that so many times. Yeah. Part 2, I played it like 7 times. Yeah. It is what it is. Yeah. We need them watch time hours. Yeah. Give Hannah the watch time hours so she can buy even better computers and get part 3 out even faster up. Yeah.
Hey, well, you said it, not me. I'm not.
Right. So next week, I have no idea what we're talking about because even this week, we was meant to actually record this straight after the last one because scheduling conflicts or whatever. And we was having so much technicals that we went, oh, we'll shoot it on Thursday. Then we did shoot it on Thursday. Then we was like, yeah, the next day. And now we've basically shot it when we would have normally shot it anyway. But whatever, it doesn't matter. Next week we'll be back. Do you know what? This is what I want to know for next week. Yeah, in the comments. Yeah, what Michael Jackson myths annoy you? Yeah, or that you know, or maybe you don't know the answer to them, or there's one that you think that everyone thinks that isn't true. Yeah, I want to know those in the comments because next week, that's what we're doing. We're going over these Michael Jackson myths because there is so many of them. What do you know about the title being MJ Myths? All right, I've already pre-thought of it. Right, Hannah, sign the people out. I'm gone. I've finished. I'm not even here.
Oh. Well, thank you guys for watching. And of course, we do intend to do this for every part of the series that's out and that will subsequently come out. So we'll probably do one on part 2. You can also ask us questions if you'd like to, and I will answer them in the podcast episode. Oh no, he's back!
Yeah, make sure you leave them questions. So if you've got questions about any of the other parts, even if you've got even follow-up questions from this one, we'll answer them in the comments, or we might do a little drop through in the next episodes, just touching on them or whatever. Right, guys, that's episode 5, 1 and done. Unlike the last one, which was like 7 and done because my camera battery kept dying. But whatever. The end.
And don't forget, call Josh Unk in the comments.
Oh, I was saying, don't forget, like, share, and subscribe. Gah!
Beat it, beat it.